Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest and greatest bonus episode of Game Rivals. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, and as always with me is the lovable, the huggable, the man who says PlayStation 2 is the best. It's Sean Templar. How's it going, Sean?
I'm good. I never said that, but I'm good. How are you?
I am very good. We are here for another bonus episode. This is a continuation of the origins stories for us.
Yeah.
In terms of our gaming origins. Last time we already had 2 previous episodes. If you haven't checked them out, please check them out. They're on YouTube. They're on our podcast services. So wherever you're listening to this or wherever you're watching us from, it's there. Please go check it out. We will be referring to stuff that we discussed earlier. So long as so that you don't get lost in what we're talking about, please check them out. Because we'll be continuing our story from there on out. So we talked about previously. We talked about the handhelds that we played and the handhelds that we owned. Let's talk about our later years. So when I was when I was ending high school, that's when the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 came out. I don't know how old you were at the time, but I was in high school. I was about to finish high school.
I cannot remember. I think I got the PS2 like in its second year.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I got the GameCube in launch year.
I remember when it came out, it
so that
was
was 2021.
1,000 guilders, the PlayStation 2.
Oh yeah. I do remember that
Yeah.
because the GameCube was way cheaper.
Yeah, it was 1,000
I don't remember the
guilders.
price, but it
Yeah.
was way cheaper. Yeah. But I do remember the price of I do remember the price of the Game Boy Advance that I bought. It was 200. I think it was 279 guilders.
That's pretty okay.
It was before. It was right before the Euro kicked in. Because the Euro kicked in like what 2002.
Or wait, was it 1,000 guilders? It could have been could it have been 1,000 euros?
No, that would
No,
be way
that
too
would be too
expensive.
much. 1,000 guilders, I think. It
Because
was.
because like 1 euro was like 2.2 guilders.
Something like that, yeah.
So it would have been like 500 euros if that's the case. It was 1,000 guilders because it came out in the time of the guilder and it was like 1,000. But the price came down really quickly though. It didn't stay at 1,000 for long. Like in the launch year, because it came out in 2021. It was the first. I think it was the first console out of the gate, if I'm not mistaken, in Europe. Oh, now I'm really confused. Hang on.
It was. I think it was 1,000 guilders. Yeah.
Yeah, that was when it launched. I don't think it was still 1,000 euros when you bought.
No.
When you bought it.
No, you're right. Yeah, and I think it was around like 500-600 euros, which is like the price that we still pay for it these days.
So yeah, that is. I mean, I didn't buy it. My parents bought me my GameCube. And I was still in high school, so it was like I think my third. It was either my third. Yeah, it was my third year in high school, and high school here is a little bit different. So it would be the equivalent. The U.S. equivalent would be I was in 11th, 10th, or 11th grade, something like that. So I got that, and I got a second controller, but the controller was a third-party controller. It was really bad. It broke really quickly.
I remember
I
back
tried
then.
I tried to fix it myself, but I couldn't put it back together.
Yeah, I think like back then, I think the quality for third party stuff has improved these days. But like back then, there was some really crappy, cheapy third party stuff out there.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, Mad Cats is the worst." It's like, no, there were worse stuff than Mad Cats.
Yeah,
believe you me.
Yeah.
Trust was one of them. But apparently, Trust has improved. So
I still don't trust Trust.
At least their gamer stuff has apparently improved, but years of not having good Trust products has put a sour taste in our mouths, as it were. It's the same with like Packard Hell, but that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So at least that doesn't exist anymore. So we don't know if they would have ever improved on their stuff. But yeah, I mean, like, how old were you when you got that? When you got the PlayStation 2?
I think I was around 10, maybe
Mm.
something like that. 9, 10.
Do you remember like what you got with that?
I didn't get a game with it, so I used to
Really?
rent
Just do the. Oh, okay. You rented games. You
Yeah,
didn't
because
do the
I got
backwards
it as
compatibility stuff.
surprise gift from my aunt, and
Ah,
um, it came with this demo disc. So I played some games like Wipeout and SSX, the snowboarding game. And
yeah.
then I remember the very first game I rented for it. It was this. I think it was a Square Enix game. It was called. I think the Bouncer was it called?
Oh no, no!
Was it? Was it
Seriously?
that? Was it? I think it was
Oh
that
my
game.
gosh! Did you rent the bouncer?
I think it was the
Hang on.
Bouncer.
Let me check. If you got it, when did you get? Like 2002,
2001,
three.
2002. Yeah, the Bouncer was the first game I played on. Is it
Oh
2000 beat 'em
my
up from Squaresoft? Yeah,
gosh!
yeah, that was the game I played on it. It was the first game I actually rented, so my first proper PS2 game.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's rough going, kid.
I honestly enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that game because
Really?
it's because, like I said, back then we weren't as picky or maybe as critiquing games
True.
as now. So like a lot of games were just your bar for fun was lower, because you're just like, I'm just playing what I can, and a lot of stuff
Mm.
was just fun to play. You wouldn't mind if it didn't look as pretty or if it didn't uh, play as nice. You're like, oh, I'm just, am I having fun with this game? Yeah, okay, cool, let's go on. Yeah,
Because right now, because currently it has have an infamous reputation of not being that great. It's also a game that was designed by Tetsuya Nomura, who is,
really,
of course, yeah,
wow,
who's the current like head director of like all things mainline Final Fantasy, um,
I did
and
not know
Kingdom
that.
Hearts, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the character design, you can totally tell that it's like
yeah,
his
yeah,
design.
definitely.
The spiky hair and like the belt buckles and the zippers and everything. The main character looks like a prototype for Sora.
Yeah, maybe it was.
So, considering that this came out in 2000, yeah, the
Yeah,
odds are it was. Yeah,
yeah.
at least 2000 in Japan. It didn't come out in Europe until 2021. 2001.
Mm.
2021. Oh, good grief.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah. Early Square Enix
Yeah.
title.
What was
All
your
right.
first game
Okay.
on the GameCube?
Ooh, I didn't have a game for a really long time. I bought the
No, I
GameCube
mean like
without
the
a game.
first one you played.
I played. I think the first game that I played was either. Ooh, this is a really long time ago. I have to really think about it. I think. I want to say it was. Um, I want to say it was Smash Brothers Melee,
That
but I
long?
might be getting no because Smash Brothers Melee didn't came out in the launch year of the GameCube. Or it was Mario Sunshine,
Oh, that
but I
one. I
think
really
Mario
liked
Sunshine
Mario
was
Sunshine.
2002.
I like Mario Sunshine.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I played it a little bit. I like the jetpack, and then you could just go around with your water.
Okay, no, because that came out in July 2022, so it was Smash, yeah. But that's because I was a big fan of like the original Smash, even though I did not own an N64.
Mm-hmm.
My neighbor owned an N64, and we played a lot of Smash.
Mm,
And like again, the my cousin's friend also got Smash, so we played a lot there too.
nice.
Um, so yeah, Smash was the first thing on my list. I saw Luigi's Mansion, and I was like, a Luigi game? Why do I care?
I love the. I liked you, Luigi's
and then
Mansion.
and then I found out that it was a good 7 hour game. I was like, well, gosh
Yeah,
darn it! I kind of regret not getting
I
it.
liked Luigi's Mansion. The thing is, um, my first game on the GameCube that I played was Star Wars Rogue Squadron. I remember fondly because it was like one of those demo thingies at a Bart Smith. So like
Yeah.
I played a lot of Rogue Squadron, and at least the demo, and I really liked it. And then
Mm.
my stepbrother got gifted a GameCube from his uncle. I think we still have that GameCube. I
Wow.
think it's
Okay.
a black one. It was the Legend of Zelda blah 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 edition that had this disc included with all sorts of Legend of Zelda games on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Yeah. I
demo
have
for
that one
the
too.
demo for the Wind Waker was on it, and all the
Yeah.
NES and SNES game Zeldas were on it, and I think also Ocarina of Time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
So it had the NES games. It had Ocarina of Time, and it
yeah,
had Ocarina of Time, the Master Quest, and Majora's Mask.
yeah, and then it also included Mario Kart Double Dash, which we played a lot of. And I
Mm.
mean, I don't know if that's a good Mario Kart game, but we personally liked it.
It's a lot of people love Double
Yeah,
Dash.
I really liked it. But I was always more of the PlayStation kind of guy. So like sometimes at this video rental place that I helped out, they would get new Cube games and we try some that. Like that's where I tried Luigi's Mansion, and that's where I
Ooh.
tried Resident Evil 4, and then that one eventually came to PS2, and I played that on
PlayStation 2.
PS2. Yeah, that was my first proper Resident Evil game because before that I was like, I don't like horror games, so and I'm gonna stay away because it was pretty scary back then, the horror games. But Resident Evil 4 was like the first one I bought, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it, and I enjoyed Resident Evil 4. Yeah,
Same here. Same here.
yeah,
Yeah. I bought it when it came out on GameCube because it was a GameCube exclusive at the time. And you know what the funny part is? Because Capcom at the time was like, this game will never come to another
I
console.
know.
Fast forward to 2022, it's on
Everything.
VR.
Yeah, it's on a potato.
It's on VR.
Yeah,
It can run.
yeah. It's like Skyrim. It's like Skyrim.
Yeah, it's basically Capcom's Skyrim.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I think there is a RE2 RE3 style remake coming for that as well.
Yeah.
So if that is coming, I want it because it's my favorite Final Fantasy Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
It's also the only Resident Evil game I ever finished.
Yeah. Me too.
Because
I finished 5 as well.
Because I have access to 5. I want to say I have access to 5. I'm not 100% sure what the details are and what my access is. I don't know if I bought it or if I have it digital or something.
But 5 felt more like 4, just prettier and with co-op at least.
Yeah, it's basically just
it's the same game
4
for me.
but co-op.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's 6. We do not talk about 6.
6 is no. I played a little bit of 7 on the PS4 last year, which is pretty creepy because I only played like 2 hours maybe, and it's really nasty and really creepy. And I haven't played Village yet, but I hear like a lot of people loved 7, but they don't like Village as much because Village feels more like an action game instead of like the horror game 6 was.
Yeah.
It's in the PlayStation Plus collection, so that's how I ended up playing it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I think I did finish Revelations though. On the 3DS.
Nice.
Which was at the time it was really impressive what they did for the 3DS version. Because it had like some really like high end like graphical stuff. If you turned off the 3D, if you turned on the 3D, it was gone.
Wow.
But the 3D does the 3D did add some immersion to it because everything popped out more and like you could gauge like distance better. And it was more actiony, but it wasn't as bad as 6.
Okay.
It felt like 4, but more responsive.
I think I have Revelations through PS Plus because it was once up there, I think.
Yeah, I think I missed that one. And then that got ported.
Yeah.
And then it got a sequel that was episodic, which was really weird.
Oh.
Yeah, Revelations 2 is like episodic, but it wasn't released It's super
okay. Wow.
Yeah, we don't talk about Revelations 2 either. It wasn't as well received or good. But yeah, the GameCube was my thing. I did not own a PlayStation 2. I borrowed my cousin's once for a really long time. That's how I played Monster Hunter on PlayStation 2. That's how I discovered Yakuza. That's how I played Persona 4 for the first time.
Oh wow.
That was my first Persona game. No, that's a lie. I played the first Persona game on emulator. It was not localized well.
Oh wow.
They did some really weird stuff. Like for one, the kids were not Japanese anymore. they were all white except
Oh.
for one kid that they made black, and you could really tell that it's like a really bad job
Oh.
because the kid's skin tone was just like bleached up, so like they turned the brightness up on the kids.
Oh man.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And then the one kid they made black is like, why would you do this? This makes no sense. But it was the 90s. um it was a PlayStation 1 game. They
Okay.
learned their lesson because they went in the remake. They're all it's just as it should be,
Okay.
but the
Wow.
remake is only on PlayStation Portable. So
Ah, okay. Is that Persona 4 Golden?
no, that's just Persona Revelations.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you have Persona Revelations. That's the first game, and then you have the sequel, which is technically two games, but only one was ever localized in English. And I think I don't remember because they literally ported every game up until three. Well, yeah, up until three to the PSP,
Hmm.
but I don't remember. In Japan, they did release both of the Persona 2 games, but I think in the West they still only did the one game.
Okay.
So that's a really weird because the first two games are tied together story wise. So if you play two, you're missing out of stuff that happened in one, and you're still missing out stuff because the second part of two was never localized. I think
Oh wow.
I have to look it up. I'm not 100% sure on that,
Okay.
but since we're not doing news right now, it's fine.
Yeah.
This is just purely on experience that we're going by. So I've never played two. I've played a little bit of three on the PlayStation 2. The special edition that came out, like the enhanced edition, called Persona 3 Fez, short for festival.
Oh.
But people just call it Fez because that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Um, and that was my first experience of Persona, and I was like, oh, there's this JRPG series that exists. It just exists, but nobody talks about it
Uh,
because Persona is, of course, a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series,
mhm.
but that's a niche, and Persona at the time was a niche of a
Oh
niche.
wow.
And now Persona is like bigger than the mainline titles,
Yeah.
but the mainline titles still exist because we recently got um, Shin Megami Tensei 5 on Switch, which I still have to pick up. But I promised myself I wouldn't pick up Shin Megami Tensei 5 until I finish Shin Megami Tensei 4 on the 3DS.
And how far along are you with that?
I'm still in the early game.
Oh, good luck with that.
It's because unlike Persona, the Shin Megami Tensei series is a dungeon crawler,
Mm.
and it's a first person dungeon. Well, the Persona 4 of TMS Shin Megami Tensei 4 is a third person dungeon crawler, but it's still a dungeon crawler with a first person battle view. It's very difficult. It gets very challenging
Wow.
because the monsters are really powerful, and you have to really think about how to attack, and you also have to recruit the monsters, the demons, in the game by talking to them or offering them money or offering them your HP. It's super weird.
Does not sound like my kind of game.
Yeah, it's again, like I said, it's a niche title.
That's an understatement.
And Persona was basically the Persona series ended up being the more
Mainstream.
mainstream iteration. It didn't start out that way because the first Persona game was still very much like a Shin Megami Tensei game.
Hmm.
And I think from Persona 3 onwards is where it it really emphasizes on like the social connections and stuff like that and the storytelling. And it had like one dungeon that was randomly generated, which is really cool because basically the higher you went, like the levels were never the same
Okay.
because the levels were auto generated, except for like the boss levels. Like the boss planes were fixed, but like the levels leading up to like the boss room, those are all randomly generated. So nobody's um dungeon was the same.
Okay.
And Persona 4 carries that on. There are multiple dungeons, but they're all randomly generated except for the level where the boss is. And
Wow.
then Persona 5 ditches that. They have fixed um, dungeons for the main plot, and there's this underground that is randomly generated.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And what does stick to me is that like I played a lot of variety in games on the PS2 era. So like I played Devil May Cry 2, which I finished,
Mm.
which was not one of the best apparently, but I enjoyed it. I know. Yeah,
Yeah, it was made. What was it? Was it made too hard or too easy?
I think
Something
it was
like
too
that.
easy probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I played Kingdom Hearts. I didn't finish it, but I put like a lot of time in Kingdom Hearts. I played Final Fantasy 10, which I enjoyed, but I didn't get too far because I didn't have a memory card again,
Mm.
only till
Yeah, yeah.
later. I played like a bunch of movie tie-in games, such as Blade, which I liked. Um,
That had a movie timing on PlayStation 2.
yeah, I think it was around the time Blade 2 came out. I like that game. I played um what is it called? I played a lot of that. It was this RPG Sony made, Sony Online Entertainment made. It was
What
um
was it called?
I can't remember the name. It was like a dungeon. It was like something like Diablo a little bit.
Okay. Hmm. I did
I
not know
remember
that.
because the same studio made the PSP version, PSP games called Untold Legends, and then they also made like a PS3 game, a launch title, which was made in Unreal Engine 3 at the time, I think. Untold Legends, and but the initial
Brotherhood
game,
of the Blade?
oh,
Daybreak?
no.
No, I mean the developer is Daybreak.
Oh, that could be. These days it's called Daybreak, but back then it was called Sony Online Entertainment.
Ah, okay.
I think it was called something like Draken Battle for something.
Are you sure it wasn't what's it called again? EverQuest?
No, no, no. But uh,
Yeah, EverQuest Online was on PlayStation
yeah, I
2.
know. But
Zuma?
I think this was
Oh,
made by
no,
the
not
team
Zuma.
from EverQuest.
Champions of Norath?
That's it. That's what. That's the one.
Ah, okay, yeah, because I just looked to their history and like I was just going through all the games that are on PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I played Champions of Norath, which was
Co-developed by Snowblind Studios.
yeah, it was that, and then there was another one. It was called Drake something Drake and blah 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 blah. I can't remember.
Drakengard?
No, it's not Drakengard, but it was something like that, which was like there was these RPGs, and I put a lot of time in them, and because I remember for one, I think with the one of the games you needed to have a memory card. If you did not have a memory
Mm,
card, you could not play it until a certain point, because the game literally
yeah,
said you don't have a memory card, you cannot proceed past this point. But
yeah.
Champions of Norad as well, like that's a game where I put a lot of time into back
Mm,
then. But I don't know, no, like on the PS3 era, I started to move away from RPGs like Dragon Quest and something like that because it was just too intense. It was,
mm.
I my issue with my issue with a lot of these games is that if it takes too long to finish, I just get overwhelmed by the amount of content and quests and stuff, and I just stop playing it because I can't. Like something like The Witcher 3, I put a lot of time in The Witcher 3, but it got so big and there's so much stuff to do in The Witcher, and I like constantly got distracted, and eventually was like, I cannot do this, I cannot handle this anymore. This is too much for me. And I am looking forward to the next gen update to The Witcher 3 because I really want to give it a chance, but
Mm.
um I try to stay away from RPGs on that scale. Yeah. Yeah, and I remember playing Gran Turismo 3 with my cousin, which was Gran Turismo 3, I think, is one of the best Gran Turismos they ever made. And that one was
Mm.
really good. Yeah, we would get all the licenses and then we would upgrade the cars and then do the races again and again and again. So we had more money to buy a higher tier car. And my uncle would play that as well with us. And yeah, we played a bit of Gran Turismo 4, but we put the most time in Gran Turismo 3. And I remember SOCOM coming out. I played SOCOM offline, of course, because I didn't have any online options then. So played SOCOM 1, 2, 3. Really like the third one because that really focused more on the single player, make it a bit more bombastic, to put it that way.
Mhm.
That was really cool. And what else did I play on PS2? It's like a lot. I can't remember it anymore, but I remember playing a lot because I could rent almost everything that came out. So, I remember there being a game about the Great Escape. The movie that we
Mm.
played,
Yeah,
which we
yeah.
enjoyed. I think there was Commandos came out on PS2. I think we even
Hmm.
played that. There was normally available on PC. And I remember playing this Alien versus Predator game on PC, which was kind of like a strategy game. It was pretty cool. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just a lot. I
Hmm.
can't think of the half of it, but the original God of War, of course, and God of War 2, which were amazing games.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the Ratchet and Clank games and the Jack and Daxter games. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still have my almost my entire GameCube library.
Oh,
I
nice.
think there was so why did I sell it again? I think when the DS came out, I sold a bunch of GameCube games so
Yeah.
that I could have the money to buy it.
Mm.
And one of the games that I sold was F-Zero GX and Mario Sunshine because I'd already beaten it. No,
Uh,
I hadn't beaten it, but I wasn't planning on playing it anytime soon. I
mhm.
was like, if I feel like it, I'll buy it again, and I did buy it again years later.
I heard
The
that
same goes
GameCube
for F
games are
Zero.
pretty expensive these days.
Oh, I made sure that I did not spend too much on
No,
it.
I know, but like if you want to buy a GameCube now
Oh,
or a
now,
GameCube,
yeah,
it's
don't.
really expensive, and I don't know why, but
Yeah,
it's really
yeah.
expensive.
Thank you, pandemic. The pandemic kind of helped in that one because everybody was feeling wistful and nostalgic and
Oh,
wanted to pay some comfort food, I'm assuming, or that, or people were realizing, well, I can't go out and make money, but if I have a bunch of retro games, I could probably make some sweet, 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 sweet money with that.
yeah,
Because the for some reason the retro gaming market got really pricey during the peak of the pandemic,
yeah,
and I don't know why. I don't know what the real the I don't know what the actual causation of it is. So um it is unfortunate and makes it a lot harder to shop for like retro games unless it's something that was produced a lot or nobody cares about.
yeah.
But yeah, I did eventually buy them again. I never picked up any of the Star Fox games though, because I did not hear great things about them at the time. And now I kind of regret it because even if they weren't that great, I kind of feel like if I had them at least, it was something that I can say I played and tried
Yeah,
and gave a fair shake. Um, but yeah, I did have a lot of games. I didn't have a lot of games on GameCube. I usually borrowed games from my best friend, um, and I still have like a okay library. There are some things that I've played on it. Um, I'm just trying to look over here. One of my favorite games that I played on it was Puyo Pop Fever, which is the first time I ever played a Puyo Pop game.
okay.
Um, you might remember it from the Mega Drive as Doctor Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which was just a skin of a Puyo game,
Okay.
Puyo game. It's a puzzle game. It's kind of like what's the other game? That Street Fighter game. The Street Fighter. Is it Puzzle Fighter? Yeah, Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
These
Um,
titles, oh man, I feel like
oh
that's
my
something
gosh.
iconic of that era.
Oh yeah, yeah.
These days, titles are much more simpler.
Unless you go to Square Enix, then you get
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah, or like
Triangle
more straight to
Strategy.
the point. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, man, titles are so good. Puyo Pop Fever was so much fun. Like I used to play that so much. That had four player. The great thing about GameCube, of course, was that it had four player multiplayer,
hmm
like the N64. But you don't have to get a multi tap. The other great thing is that it also supported network play. So there's less than a handful of games that supported online
I was
play.
about to ask that. Yeah.
Um Fantasy Star Online is one.
Hmm.
So Fantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2 are online games. They were Dreamcast games that were ported to the GameCube, and they even had like a ASCII keyboard with GameCube controllers on the side, which were super expensive, and the only game that you used it for was that game. But there was a third party controller by ASCII that allowed you to play a GameCube game with a keyboard,
Oh
like a
wow.
full size keyboard in it.
Oh.
It was so crazy because because the Dreamcast had a keyboard and a mouse, but the GameCube does not support a mouse, just GameCube peripherals. So yeah, if you wanted to play, if you wanted to play Fantasy Star Online properly and be able to chat with people online, you needed the keyboard, um, which was not cheap, by the way. And it's still not cheap. Even in the used market, it's still very expensive because it's a collector's item.
Oh.
Um, and like you could play certain games online with a tunneling software on your computer called Pipe Pipeline, I think.
Don't know.
I forget. I did not do any of this stuff, but I do remember that my friend was like, "Yeah, you could play certain GameCube games online with like pipeline, and it's like very challenging to set up, because there were like a lot of things that you had to like take into account. Um, but you also had like networked games like Double Dash. Mario Kart Double Dash allowed you to hook up two GameCubes to each other with the broadband adapter. So if both of them had the broadband adapter hooked up at the bottom, um, you could hook them up together and you have 16-player multiplayer.
Wow.
Yeah, because is it 16? Sorry,
8.
player
Yeah.
multiplayer, not 16. Sorry. Yeah, because you have two people on a cart, so that's 4 on one. So you play head to head, but then you could hook it up again, and then you'd have 8-player. I think you could do 60-player. I think you could hook up a maximum of 4 GameCubes together that way. I don't know how, but it is possible. So I think technically you can do 60-player multiplayer. I never figured out how though, because you could only connect them directly to each other with the network cable. So I think you needed like a router or something,
Could be.
or like
Or
a
Switch,
bridge or
maybe. Yeah.
whatever, or a switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think a switch would work. I think you needed a bridge.
Okay. Wow. I never understood
Um,
why the GameCube had the weird C button, I think it was called, like the analog stick, the hexagon analog
yeah,
stick. I never understood why they had that.
the camera poke.
That,
That
yeah.
was specifically for camera. Yeah.
But why was it like hexagon and not just round? Like the shape on the
Beats
outside,
me.
yeah.
Because the GameCube was also 8-directional. I think it's because it's an 8-directional analog stick.
Oh, and
It
also
wasn't a
like
full
they had only
360
one
analog
shoulder
stick.
button, like an R1 button. They didn't have like R1 and L1.
They had 2 shoulder, but they had the analog triggers.
Yeah, so they had
They were
like
the
triggers,
first.
and then
Yeah, they were one of the first to use analog.
yeah, but they didn't
triggers.
have like R1 and R2. They only had R1.
No, they had R and L, and then you had the Z button.
Really?
Yeah, you had R and L, and then you had the Z button. The Z button was above the R.
Yeah,
R
but like
trigger.
they didn't have it on both sides.
Yes, they did. You had R and L. What the heck?
I am talking about R1 and L1, not
Oh no,
L2
they
and
didn't
R2.
have that setup.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. So
no,
like they
that's
only
a PlayStation.
Yeah, I know, but like Xbox had
Yeah,
Xbox only had triggers.
Xbox only had triggers. It
Yeah.
wasn't until the 360 that they got the triggers and the bumpers.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird, right?
Yeah, because it was missing a button, because it was like, what?
Yeah, for certain games you were missing buttons on the GameCube,
Yeah.
which made porting games to the GameCube a bit challenging.
Yeah.
Also the only game that really utilized the GameCube controller the best was Luigi's Mansion. So you can really tell that they kind of designed the controller around Luigi's Mansion and then worked from there.
Oh man. Yeah.
But it still worked. Like people still swear by it, like hardcore Smash players like, "Oh, I'm so silly." It's like it's literally right in front of me. It's right here.
I rest my case. It looks so tiny.
So yeah.
Especially in your hands, it looks so tiny.
I have really huge hands. But yeah, these are analog triggers.
Yeah.
So it's really weird because Nintendo like had these analog triggers and they're really good and really responsive. And then the Wii happened and buy analog.
Yeah.
And we haven't had analog triggers since.
Maybe they felt like
And
they
it
needed
really
to modernize.
no, because it makes no sense because they're all digital now, and every other controller still uses like analog triggers. PlayStation uses analog triggers. Well, now they have the what
Adaptive.
do you call them? The adaptive triggers. Xbox still uses analog triggers.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. The only thing I can think of is that the form factors of their controllers were not conducive of having analog triggers in them. Like you couldn't have I don't know if you could have analog triggers on a Joy-Con. Maybe they're just too big of a thing to have on
Could be, yeah.
Joy-Cons.
Because that's why the maybe with the Steam Deck, I think the Steam Deck has analog triggers.
I think
So
so.
like,
Yeah.
and maybe it's because it's a bit bulkier and bigger that it
Oh,
has
that
that
thing is
space.
that thing is chunky. I've seen comparison shots. That thing is chunky.
Yeah.
You're not taking that on the go.
Oh.
Like at least it comes in a carrying case, so you can put it in your bag. But it is very chunky, and the battery life is not that great.
Yeah, it's not gonna fit into your pocket or something like some people do.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then moving from that, you got an Xbox 360, right?
Yeah, so that was an interesting.
Why did you get an Xbox 360?
I was forced into it.
Wow, wow. By who?
By my best friend.
Oh my god.
He was like, get an Xbox and we can play Halo 3 together.
Did you get it like in the launch window?
No, I got it in 2007.
Okay, so that's the
Yeah.
year the PS3 came out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm. I got that instead of a PlayStation 3 because I did not care for the PlayStation 3.
and the PS3 was really expensive.
And that too, because the only one I wanted was the one with the backwards compatibility, and that
Yeah.
was 600
I
euros.
still have that one, the 60
And I was
gigabyte
like,
model.
you lucky son of a gun.
I saved my money for that, and like I remember because
They were going out and saying like, yeah, this is the console you'll get like a second mortgage for. I'm like, I don't even have a first mortgage.
yeah, but like I remember because I wanted the PS3 so badly that I reserved it at multiple retailers just because I was like, I want one day one, and I was afraid like it was gonna sell out everywhere because it had come out in the States before and in Japan before, and we got it in the
Yeah.
spring of the year that and after, and it sold out everywhere. And then I remember launch day, it came out. I got a second controller. I got Resistance Fall of Man. And my mom took me to the store because it was a drive from our home, so I had to put it in the car. But like, it didn't sell out because of the price. It was widely available because a lot of people just didn't want it because it was 600 euros. It was 600 euros.
That's like if you think about it now, that's crazy. Like
That is
you're looking
crazy.
at like the disc version of the PlayStation 5 is like 500 euros,
Yeah.
and people
Yeah.
are like upset about that.
Yeah.
Like 600, like
Yeah, and then
and that is in like 2006 money, 2007
yeah,
money.
yeah. And then because I remember, like within months, they cut out the backwards compatibility, and they made like the 399 version, the 40 gigabyte version for 399, and then
Yeah,
it took off from there. Because eventually, because Microsoft came out a year earlier, they also did like the double configuration. So they did the hard driveless version and the version with a hard drive. I remember because
why
they
on earth would you ever buy the hard driveless version? I will never.
I
know.
think it was $100 cheaper.
Yeah, it was cheaper.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to buy the hard drive separately,
Or you could
get
get a memory card.
Memory card, which is like,
Yeah.
who the heck used the memory card? Actually, you know what?
You probably
Asking
did.
everybody. No, because I got the one with the hard drive. Because I
Really?
got because I got the Halo 3 bundle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got the Halo 3 bundle. I saved up my part-time money.
Mm-hmm.
Was I working part-time at the time? Let me think. No, yeah, I was working full time at the time. That was 2006.
Okay, wow.
I was working full time at the time. Right? Yeah. I think so. I was working. Oh, it's sorry. Timeline. Yeah. So I was working full time. I had just finished school, and I was waiting. There was this period of time that I had to wait before I started my next course.
Mm-hmm.
It was like about 9 months or so, And I saved up some money while I was working full time, and then I got the Xbox 360.
Okay, wow. And what was the first game you played on the 360? Not the first game, because you owned Halo, but what was like the very first game you played on the 360?
Halo.
Halo, really? You didn't play
Yeah.
anything before that?
Nope. Never touched an Xbox 360 before
Oh
that.
wow! Because I remember, like on launch
But that
day.
was around the time. I was around the time when the first Witcher came out.
Hmm.
I think. Am I saying that?
Is it
correct?
that long? Because I remember a friend of mine got the Xbox 360 on launch day, and I played Need for Speed Most Wanted on the 360, and that was really cool because it was you had Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2 on the PS2,
Yeah.
which were
Yeah.
great games.
2007. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was right.
Oh damn. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I played Most Wanted at the friend who got it on launch day, and Most Wanted was really cool, and it looked so pretty. But we were like, "Wow, this is so pretty!"
I
Even,
didn't
even
care
though,
for it.
yeah, even though it was a launch title, we were like,
I
"Whoa,
because in 2006, don't remember in 2006 I got the Wii.
really? Huh?
Late 2006, I saved up like all my money, and then I
Did the
bought the
Wii
Wii.
come out in 2006?
And 2006, yeah,
Oh wow!
December 2006, if I'm not even mistaken
Are
here.
you sure?
Yep, don't believe me? Look it up.
What did the PlayStation launch that late?
The PlayStation launched in the same month.
Yeah, in
Like
in
I think,
America, but I think it came
yeah,
out in 2007 in Europe.
probably because I remember distinctly picking up the Wii. I remember reserving it. Yeah,
Yeah,
December 8th, 2006.
yeah, because it came out March 23rd here in Europe.
Hmm.
PS3. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I had a Wii and I had an Xbox 360. Can you believe that?
Wow. Well, I
Like at least a year separated from each other though.
and you had the backwards compatible Wii.
Yeah, the Wii was backwards
Yeah, but
compatible.
like later on they took it out, right?
No, there's a specific model of the Wii that does not have backwards
Oh,
compatibility.
okay.
That's the Wii Mini.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. But they always kept selling them side by side. Or did
Yeah, like the GameCube one was there for a really long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it also had like the
So
GameCube port controllers on the top.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great, man. That was great.
Yeah.
Man, I played a lot of like GameCube games, man, back in the day, and the Wii was just like my jam
Mm.
because it had a lot of really fun games. You had Mario Galaxy that came out in 2007, Metroid Prime. The Metroid Prime games, like that was fun on GameCube, and then I had Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. You had the Metroid Prime trilogy that eventually came out as well. You had oh my gosh, like I might like the biggest part of my collection is Wii games. Like if you look at my shelf, it's like there's like a full shelf, like just bursting with Wii games.
Nice.
Um, like there was this first person shooter that came out for the Wii called The Conduit, which was supposed to be like this first person game that was supposed to show that the Wii had like good graphical capabilities, and it's a good looking game. The frame rate is kind of all over the place, but it's a good looking game, and the gameplay is pretty solid because of course you have the Wii mode combination, which is really great. There are a bunch of really weird and obscure games that came out on the Wii. One of them is like this RPG called Opuna, which I unfortunately never got. I really regret not getting it. It's not great, but it is good. There was this other game called Elabits, which in Europe was called Eladies, and I was like, oh, I hate that title. I just call it Elabits. It
Okay.
it had I think it had a DS sequel. Yeah, I think it had a DS sequel or spin-off or something called Elabits something rather or
Hmm.
other. But it was really fun because it was a first person collectathon. Like you had to collect these creatures and then return power to the world because electricity had disappeared in the world, and the only way to restore it was by capturing these Ella bits.
Okay. Wow. Oh
Yeah,
man. I remember when the with the PS3, because then I moved away from like renting games, so that was like the first console where I actually had to buy all my games, and it's kind of like now with the PS5 that I was selective, because I remember I got Resistance Fall of Man for launch, and
Mhm.
I love that game, and I put a lot of time into multiplayer, because it was for the first time that multiplayer was built into the PS3. You didn't need an external adapter. It was free multiplayer, so you could play
Mm.
like a lot of titles. It was unified, so you just had your PSN account, and you could just play games instead of creating an account for every game you played. Because that was a thing on the PS2. So they
Yeah.
unified that, and I remember playing Resistance Fall of Man, and then if I got Warhawk eventually, because it was like one of the first games I remember that was like download only, and if you bought the physical copy, you just get a headset with it. And it was
Mhm.
Warhawk is basically Sony's Battlefield. It literally feels like Battlefield.
Mm.
Or let me put it, it is Battlefield. It is just Battlefield, just with a different title slapped onto it. But I enjoyed, because it was multiplayer only. It got announced with single player campaign, and it had that horrible on stage motion control 6 axis demo with the plane flying. But I remember it came out and it got great reviews. And that game, I, I remember vividly, that was, I think, one of the first games on PS3, or at least for me, that got like downloadable content. They called it booster pack. So they added a new
Mm.
map, new vehicles, and new weapons. And they did like a couple of booster packs. And they also really improved the game through updates. They made fixes, they added new stuff into it. And it was just like this really fun, a little bit cartoony style game. You could just jump in really easily, play some matches, jump out. You had four-player co-op split screen if you wanted to. Um, it had a fun, it had a cool art style, fun maps. I really, there are rumors floating around that there is a remake or a remaster in the works. I really hope that's true, and that's something that's coming to PS5, because I love Warhawk. I would seriously pay a lot of money for that game to come back to. I still have it on my PS3. I love that game. And I played a lot of
Okay.
Warhawk, and I remember playing Resistance 2, which I liked. Resistance 3, I never finished that one. I still want to finish that one. And then, that's what, for me at least, when I really started to see Sony, and probably before in the PS2 era as well, they had like this first party support. But it really feels to me like
Mm.
in the PS3 era, they really started to ramp up their their PlayStation, then it was called Worldwide Studios, their Worldwide Studios portfolio, because then we got Killzone 2 and they bought Guerrilla, which Killzone 2 looked really amazing and played really cool. Played a lot of multiplayer of that as well. And then, of course, we got Killzone 3 later, which was a surprise announcement for me. I also enjoyed that one. But we also got
Mm.
stuff like Uncharted. I love Uncharted. I enjoyed the first one, but the second one I love. That's probably my favorite out of all. And then the third one came out, and then we got SOCOM. We got SOCOM Confrontation, which was done by a different studio. It wasn't that fun, but we got SOCOM
Mhm.
Special Forces, which was a really fun game. Had a cool single player. We got MAG, the 256 multiplayer FPS game, which was a crazy game. It was fun, but it felt like a diamond in the rough. It needed a lot of
Yeah.
polish.
The 256 player was basically broken up into squads of like 64, right?
Yeah, so like the whole map would
Yeah.
have 256, and then it would just uh, divide the map into zones. So you would like have battalions of 128, and then those were shrunken down. So eventually you would be like probably 32 against 32. But in the
Yeah.
server at the same time, there were 256 people. Yeah, and then
Oh man, marketing spin, man, marketing spin.
yeah, and what else did we get? Call of Duty, of course, Modern Warfare 4, Modern Warfare 4, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. Played a lot of multiplayer of that. Oh man, I love that. A lot of that, and of course, Modern Warfare 2. I never played Modern Warfare 3 because eventually I just got like after Modern Warfare 2, I stopped playing Call of Duty because I was just fed up with it because they released one every year and it got
Hmm.
boring to me. And we got
Modern Warfare, the beginning of the end,
yeah,
as I
yeah.
like to call it.
Yeah, we got Infamous 1 and 2, which I really loved. I remember when Gran Turismo 5 Prologue came out. That was one of
Hmm.
the first games that I saw that I thought like, whoa, this looks real, like photorealistic real. Like that was the only
Yeah.
game that did that. Like at some points I was like, it's scary how real this looks. And that's a PS3 game.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's also the first time that I realized that there are red flags in the game industry. Because when Prologue was announced, people were like, "Why though?
Yeah.
Why not just just finish the game
Yeah.
and then put out the full game?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where it comes out, just bring it out. Why are you doing Prologue?
Yeah.
You know?" And
Yeah.
then years later, we get stuff like Ground Zeroes, and it's like, well, that's just a paid demo.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought my PS4 or PS3 only for Metal Gear Solid 4. Like I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan, and like I didn't care. I was like, I need one now, and then I don't care when MGS4 comes out. And I remember at the time really being scared because there was a lot of going around. I was really being scared it becoming an Xbox exclusive or it also
Yeah.
coming to Xbox. I'm like, no, this game is not allowed to come to Xbox. It's a PlayStation game, you know. It needs to stay on PlayStation. And I remember Kojima saying like, no, it is a PS3 exclusive. And it came out, and I remember it was the first time I took time off of work. I never do that for games, but that was the first game I did that. And it came out on a Friday. I think it was June 12th. I think it came out 2008.
Mm.
And I just took the weekend off, and I started on the Friday and I finished it on the Monday. And I was like, holy crap, it was such an amazing game. And like before the game came out, you had all these stories like 90-minute cutscenes, and I think Kojima back then also did like this developer camp or press camp where they invited people from the press over for like a week, and they could just play the game and comment and feedback on the game so that they could still fix anything if there was anything left of it, which was pretty big at the time. And then, oh man, I love that game so much. Yeah. And then we got shortly thereafter Metal Gear Revengeance or whatever it was, like the
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
no, it was called Revengeance because it was like that Xbox demo they showed, and it was gonna be
Rising Revengeance.
was it?
Right.
No, I think it was Revengeance at the time, and then Rising Revengeance became Metal Gear Rising, or it didn't have like the full title because it was done by Platinum Games, I think.
It was not originally done by Platinum Games. It was originally done internally.
Yeah, but like later,
it's called Rising Revengeance.
That's right. Oh, I thought it was called Metal Gear Rising at first because initially it was done by Kojima and then eventually went to Platinum Games.
Yeah, it was just. I think it started life out as Metal Gear
Rising.
Revengeance.
Oh, Revengeance.
And then they added the Rising.
Yeah, because I remember it was being done by the younger team within Kojima Productions, and then
they failed.
Yeah, and they couldn't pull it off, and then it went to Platinum Games. I never finished the game. I did buy it, but I never finished the game. It felt different.
Yeah, so it started out as Metal Gear Solid Rising. You're right.
Yeah.
And then when it got taken over by Platinum, it was renamed Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yeah.
Which is a very Platinum title.
Yeah.
I got to the final boss. I still haven't beaten that stupid bastard.
Yeah.
If it was available on GeForce Now, I would actually try it again on stream because I did actually try to beat him on stream back in the day.
Yeah.
When was this? This was 2014.
Oh wow.
That was in 2014. I was streaming again. That was when I had my Wii U. So
nice.
But we're moving a bit ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
The Wii Xbox 360 era was a weird one for me because now I had two systems for the first time ever.
I also had an Xbox 360
because at the time I had the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance, and then I got the DS, and then the Wii came out, and I was never planning to pick up a Xbox or a PlayStation for the foreseeable future, but since my hand was forced, I kind of had to. I don't regret getting an Xbox 360 though. I will say that I don't regret it. It was a fun experience, and it made me see like, okay, maybe Microsoft is onto something. It's not my cup of tea because most of the games on there are like these like bro-y type games or first-person games. But once in a while, there were some games, and they did try to curry the JRPG market.
Yeah.
Because they had Blue Dragon, which I never played,
and Lost Odyssey.
They had Lost Odyssey, which I never played.
Yeah, because they were all made by
once and my friend.
Yeah,
they were all made by Mistwalker.
And by Hironobu Sakaguchi. Yeah,
exactly. And it's kind of unfortunate because Blue Dragon was okay. It was just their version of
Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest. so I didn't care because at the time I didn't care about Dragon Quest. I never played any Dragon Quest at that time.
Yeah.
And Lost Odyssey was basically their
Final Fantasy.
attempt of a Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, and I didn't care because apparently there was a lot of downtime in the game. Like a lot of stuff was told through these books in games and like diaries and stuff like that. And they were I don't remember if they were narrated or not. So
Mm.
it was a lot of text reading. But apparently it's really good. The story is really solid and the gameplay is really good. But I do not remember. I played it once at my friend's place, and I do remember that he finished it, but I do not remember playing that game at all. So I don't even remember how the gameplay is on that one. There was this one JRPG that I really liked that I never finished on Xbox 360 called Eternal Sonata,
I've
which
heard
was
of
made
that
by
one. Yeah.
I want to say Tri Ace or Tri Crescendo, one of the two.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, so it was a Namco Bandai game. Art style is really pretty. Kind of reminds me of the Tales of series. Also, in terms of like the combat, kind of like that. I think it's done by the same developers as Star Ocean, so that would be Tri-Ace, not Tri Crescendo.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that was a really good game. Unfortunately, never finished it. I got Bayonetta, like used from a from a classmate, and like a bunch of other games like Devil May Cry 4 and like a whole bunch of stuff. And I did start out playing Bayonetta 1 on 360, but I never finished it on 360. I didn't finish Bayonetta until I got the Bayonetta 1 and 2 bundle on Wii U.
Okay.
That's when I finished Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, which I feel Bayonetta 2 is the superior game, but that's just um but yeah, like the Xbox, I played a lot of Xbox 360 games, but most of them were digital because you had the Xbox Arcade,
Yeah.
and a lot of cool games came out on Xbox Arcade. Castle Crashers came out on Xbox Arcade, which was a really fun multiplayer game, couch co-op. Then you had, I think that also had online, like stuff like Alien Hominid was like a Newgrounds game that got an Xbox Arcade version, which is really good. So yeah, a Flash game becoming an Xbox Arcade game. Yet of course, the little game that was packaged with Project Gotham Racing called Geometry Wars,
That was a really big.
which
It turned out to be a big game. Yeah.
which ended up being its own game and like really big, and
Yeah.
even had like a DS version.
Yeah.
Um, I played the crap out of Geometry Wars, man.
Yeah.
Not the first game, but like the Geometry Wars Evolved. That was the standalone game, and that was really big. It was really pretty. It's the first thing that showed off like the HD graphics and stuff like that, because it had a lot of particle effects and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I
And it's really
remember.
cool. Even to this day, it's like a really cool game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there were a lot of like download games that I played. Scott Pilgrim versus the World was on there, which I regret not buying.
It came out again,
Not
right? Recently.
yeah, I still have to get it. It's like what the frick, second chance, and I still haven't
Yeah.
gotten it yet. Too many games, man, too many games.
I remember that a friend of mine, I borrowed his Xbox 360 once, and he had modded it, so he had like all these legal games, and I played Dead Rising on it, which I really enjoyed, and I
I
played
played the demo for that one too. Yeah.
yeah, and I played Lost Planet, which I really enjoyed, and of course we played a little bit of Halo 3, and that, of course, that was fun because that's mainly the reason why you got an Xbox. And then later we played Gears of War and Gears of War 2, and we played Horde mode a lot.
Mm.
And then I also remember because I eventually got an Xbox 360 Elite. It was called, I think.
Mm.
So that was like a
The slim down version.
yeah,
but
the
more powerful.
more silent, and it was black, and it was the redesigned. And I bought it purely because I wanted to play all the Halo games. So there was this Halo bundle that I
Yeah.
specifically wanted, and I like went through the city, all these retailers, and like one finally had it. So I played Halo
The Master Chief
1.
Collection.
It wasn't out then, so it was like I
Oh yeah,
bought
that
them all
wasn't
separately.
out.
So I got Halo 1 on PC and Halo 2 on PC, and then Halo 3 I played on on
360.
360, and then ODST, but I never finished ODST. And then like Halo Wars, I think that one, the first one
Mm-hmm.
was on 360. I played a little bit of that. And then, I just didn't use the Xbox again for a very long time. So eventually I ended up trading it in at Game Mania a
Mm-hmm.
couple of years ago because I just did. Yeah, like that's always been my issue with Xbox. Like I buy it in an impulse and then I just don't use it after a while. Because did the same with an Xbox One. I bought a One S in an impulse for Forza Horizon 2 at the time. And I played a bit of that. I played a couple of other games, and then I just sold it all, traded it in again because I'm not an Xbox gamer. I've noticed.
Yeah. Do you remember, since we're talking about Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, do you remember Tom Clancy's Hawks?
I remember it. I played a little bit of it because I also remember End War, which was their strategy game,
Yeah.
which you could play with voice commands. Because I played the demo
Yeah.
with voice commands, and it actually worked. If you use the proper voice commands, it would work. You could say like Unit Alpha, Unit Bravo, move to Delta, or something like that, and then you would see on the screen it selecting like this flow chart all your commands, and then they would
Yeah.
like verbally confirm like Roger that, and then boop, they would just move to that. Or you could say like all units fall back, and then all units would pull back. Like that was really really cool.
Yeah. End Wars.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh man. I
That
also forgot,
was.
but like the PS3 era gave us games like Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed
Mm-hmm.
2, which a lot of people consider the best Assassin's Creed game ever. And it gave us Infamous, Infamous 1 and 2, Prototype, Saints Row,
Mm-hmm.
Grand Theft Auto 4, which I really enjoyed. It was a far more serious game than the previous ones. And I remember I didn't want GTA 4 because I was like, oh man, GTA, I don't care. I mean, it's this goofy game. I mean, and the reason why I didn't want it is because with San Andreas, I had put so much time into it. And then because I had to use too much cheats, it bugged on me in one of the missions. There's this mission where you have to save a rapper called OG Loke, and he's standing on the edge of a building, and he's drunk, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill myself." And then normally how it works is you have to grab a truck with boxes, and then you have to park it underneath him. Oh, and then he falls off the ledge, hits your boxes, and then you drive him to the hospital. But because I had used too many cheats, he always died in the cutscene. So he would just walk off the ledge in the cutscene. So there was nothing I could do to save him. It was like a bug or something. So I got really frustrated at that moment. And I'm like, and I remember Vice City, but even more San Andreas, it had a lot of these annoying missions that would just you would fail them because of something stupid, like you had to use an RC helicopter to move parts, and then the controls wouldn't work as well, and then you would hit something, and then your helicopter would blow up. Or in San Andreas, you have big smoke you're on the bike, big smoke's in the back, you have to drive next to the train, and he has to shoot the gangsters off the train. Like how many times I have had to done that again. So I got to the point that I was fed up with GTA. I was like, no. And then I remember it came out on I think April 30th, and then the
Mm.
day before I was like, I want GTA 4. I don't know why I had that impulse. I just like the day before I was like, I want that game. So I remember I called my mom and I said to my mom like, I want this game and I'm at work right now, so can you call around and ask if they have it and then maybe reserve it for me? And she's like, fine. And she called me back just before I finished my work. And she said like, I've managed to able to reserve a copy for you there and there, so you need to go to another city to pick it up. And I'm like, fine, I'll do it. So I finished work. I got on my bicycle. I raced to the other city, and I got there like, hey, you have a GTA 4 copy on this and this name. And like, yeah, like I'm here to pick it up. Like, oh, okay. So I give him the $60. I race home, and I play GTA 4, and I loved every second of it because it had a far serious tone and far serious story. It was still goofy, because it
Mhm.
was like Roman, your cousin, would just randomly call you.
Nico, my cousin. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
exactly that, and then it was like,
that
oh,
was meme to
you
crazy,
want to
man.
go to the
Sheesh.
strip club or something like that? And you'd be like, oh,
Yeah. You
okay.
want to go bowling? No.
Yeah, so I played a lot of that and I enjoyed it. Um,
Mm.
yeah, but that's like the games that came out in that time were just were a whole lot more serious, but still like really fun. Oh man.
Yeah, I returned it after a week.
Well, GTA 4. Why?
I didn't like it.
Oh my god. Oh man. They should.
Like I played it and I got why people enjoyed it, but I did not enjoy the driving.
Oh, okay.
The driving kind of really sucked, and the mission progression was just way too slow for me.
I also loved Red Dead
There were
Redemption.
way too
Yeah.
many distractions.
Yeah.
But I wasn't used to playing an open world game like GTA. GTA 4 was my first.
Ah, okay. Because
Yeah. Outside of that, the only other GTA game I ever played was GTA, the original GTA, the top-down one on PC.
oh wow. Yeah, because
Yeah.
then they also later did Red Dead Redemption, and I loved Red Dead Redemption. Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic considering that it was not originally a Rockstar game.
Yeah, because I
It
played
was
Red Dead
Capcom.
Revolver on the PS2.
Yeah.
I
That
love.
was Capcom.
Yeah, I know. I like that one
It's crazy.
as well. Because also on the PS2 we had Max Payne 1 and 2, which I also really enjoyed.
I played a little bit of Max Payne 1 on the PC.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like someone had it on PC and I played it a little bit.
Mm.
It was so wild because because it came out I think around or after The Matrix.
Yeah.
So it was the first game to have that bullet time
Yeah,
stuff in it.
that was so
It's like,
cool.
oh, that's so cool.
That was so cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that they're going to do a remake because it's been like a year since I played that
And
game.
it's being made by Remedy.
Yep.
So this time, no weird shenanigans like they did with like GTA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They're actually using like a modern engine. They're putting the resources where they belong. So it looks to me like they learned their lesson.
Yeah.
On a certain level, they're like, well, we made money, but we also drew ire from the community.
Yep.
So if we're gonna do something like this again, we can't have it sell well and draw the ire of the community, because if the community does not know that this is going to be a good product, they won't pick it up again.
Yep.
They realized that they can pull the same trick twice.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And then came PS4 and Xbox One and later the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's my library of like.
Oh wait, you had a Wii U, of course.
Yeah, my Wii U.
Yeah.
Is almost as big as my Wii library. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I bought a lot of stuff online in the eShop.
I gotta say, like the whole Wii U, like it kind of flew past me. I like barely realized it was there.
It was also barely there because it only lasted for like what, 4 years?
Yeah, but like I don't.
It came out in late 2012.
Yeah.
By 2015, it was kind of done.
Okay.
The last big game to come out on the Wii U was
Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was 2017, and it was also a Switch launch title. So
yeah,
I don't even count it as a Wii U title. I know that one of our colleagues picked it up on Wii U first, and then picked it up later on Switch. He beat it on Wii U first, and then he picked it up on Switch. So, yeah, the Wii U was an interesting time. It's kind of disappointing because they'd had a lot of cool games in the big early on. It had Zombie U, which did later get a port, but
I
honestly,
remember that game. It's what made Ubisoft.
For my money, yeah, it was made by Ubisoft of all people, because it was a relaunch of like this other game called Zombie that came out like in the 80s. It was a revival of that franchise. But Zombie U was interesting because it wasn't a survival horror. It was a post-apocalypse game with zombies, where if you died, you become another person, and the corpse of the person that you got becomes a zombie, and you can search for your zombie so you can get all your stuff back by killing that zombie. But if you died again, then that's it.
It kind of sounds like a Souls game.
It's kind of like a Souls game, but there's no pause. Actually, it is like a Souls game because there's also no pause button.
Yeah.
If you look into your bag, the game is still playing and you can still get attacked by zombies. So if you're not hiding from a zombie, or if you haven't cleared an area, you die again and then you have to start all over again. But you always have to start over again from the save point. I think there are checkpoints, but I never got far enough in that game to figure that out. Yeah. I never finished that game because it was so hard. Oh. It's a really challenging game. There are a lot of good games on there. There weren't a lot, but there were a lot. The games that utilized the gamepad really well were few and far between. Like there's this one indie game that someone brought up recently. I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that that exists, and I kind of want to stream it. Called Affordable Space Adventure or something. So
Never heard of it before.
Affordable Space Adventure, something like that, where you're basically, yeah, affordable space adventures where you're basically have this spacecraft, which really cheap spacecraft, and you have to navigate through like different alien planets. But because it's a cheap spacecraft, you have to like make sure that everything is okay. So on the bottom screen, you have like your engine, your power, your weapon systems, and you have to maintain that because they kept breaking down. And you could take damage from like the environment and from enemies and from monsters around, so you have to maintain it and stuff like that. I think it had asynchronous multiplayer or co-op, sorry, where you could like assign other people that are playing with you, like, okay, you man the guns, you man the engines, stuff like that, and then they do that. It's really fun.
Nice.
So it had cool quirky titles like that, and then you had big beautiful games like Xenoblade Chronicles X, which was a spin-off of the Xenoblade series, and it's this big massive like JRPG with online multiplayer
Wow.
where you could like play co-op online. So
Okay.
you could invite people into your game with their like skills and whatnot, and their skills, which is like their mechs. Oh my god, that game was so beautiful and so big.
And it never got a Switch release.
No, but I think it's because the game is just really big, and the developers, if that ever got a port, the developers would be doing that themselves.
Hmm.
And like the head of the studio was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do that because it's way too big of a project."
Wow.
And they want to focus on doing like more new stuff. Like the fact that they ported Xenoblade 1 was a big deal, and I think the only reason why they did that was because the original Xenoblade was on Wii, which I also had. I bought the game 3 times. I think I've told you this before.
Kind of like
I've
my
bought
sleeping
Xenoblade
dogs.
Chronicles 3 times on Wii, on new 3DS, and on Switch, and I still haven't finished the flipping
Oh
game.
man, it's
I am very close. I really want to finish it on my holiday, so that's on my list of stuff that I'm gonna play on my holiday. Um, because I really want to finish it before the summer, because I want to play. I want to go into 3 because again, like I said, I told you before offline. The Xenoblade games are tied together
Mhm.
thematically, and they're all like big open world games.
Okay.
So, like, even at the time, Xenoblade Chronicles was a massive project for the Wii. Like, it was a big open world game. Granted, the character models were really crappy, but Monolith was not known for having good character models. At least not until they finally itched the HD, and even like their first HD game was Xenoblade Chronicles X. The character models are also not great. They're better because it's in HD, but they're not great. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, way better character models, also way better character design. And the definitive edition of Xenoblade Chronicles uses the same engine. So you can really tell that when they gave it the glow up, like the remake glow up, it looks really good now because they look as they're supposed to. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is gonna be so good. Oh my gosh, I can look forward to it. But yeah, the Wii U was a really weird time. It had weird games, even weirder than the Wii, and it's so sad that like a bunch of these games they either got ported to the Switch, which is fine. It gives people another chance to play these games, but also there are also a bunch of games there that you can't find anywhere else. Virtual Console is about to die out because the Wii U eShop and the 3DS eShop is about to die. And that's really sad because there are a lot of games on there that you can't find anywhere else. The Wii U is still backwards compatible with the Wii. That's why I picked up Panya Swing Golf, which I talked about in the previous episode. And I did I talk about that already in the last episode? Yeah, I talked about how weird it was that it wasn't 4.3,
yeah,
right?
yeah, because it started out as a
Yeah,
PC game with microtransactions.
super freaking weird.
Yeah, I feel like the Wii
Oh,
U.
it didn't have. I checked it. It doesn't have microtransactions.
Ah, okay.
The Wii version. It's just pure. It's just a pure base game.
I feel like the whole Wii U and also to an extent the Xbox One were all a little bit overshadowed by the PS4 because
Yeah.
from the start they like nailed everything. You know, the pricing, the marketing, the games. Like,
do you remember the presentation for the Xbox One, by the way?
Yeah, I do. Like, you had one on the campus of Xbox because Sony did in 2013. Sony did like this event in February in New York,
Yeah.
which they never do something in New York. They did this really cool event in New York where they basically announced the PS4, and but it was more like 2/3 of the presentation was like what Mark Cerny did with the PS5. Like, this is our vision, and this is the hardware, and this is what the tools we're going to offer. So like more of like a technical briefing, and then towards the end they started showing the games like Infamous and other sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so people were Destiny, and they didn't announce pricing, I think, back then either. I think that was around E3.
Yeah,
and then Microsoft had their thing, and they were like,
that was on the Xbox campus like a month or two after, and it was 90% was focused on TV and watching TV and streaming services and Connect.
Remember Connect?
Yeah, and how it would become
Xbox on.
Yeah, like how it become the center of your living room, and like people were like, I don't care about the center of my living room.
I just want to play games.
Yeah, and then E3 came along, and then they did their
and the online DRM.
Yeah,
it's where they announced like, you can't like borrow a game. It's online DRM. It's like
it needs to check in. Yeah, it needs to check in every once in 24 hours to verify. Blah blah blah. And then we got E3, and then Microsoft did their press conference, and they showed a lot of games, and then they announced pricing and a release date. And I remember because people didn't even clap that excited when the pricing was announced.
No, because it was bundled with the Kinect, and you had to get it with the Kinect. I think early the launch did not come with a bundle without Kinect. Nope. It was later.
No, because then even Don Metric said that infamous interview when people were talking about the pricing and that he said like, if you don't want Kinect and if you don't want online DRM, that's totally fine. We also have a solution for that. It's called Xbox 360. And people were like, what? How are you? Why? You know?
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then Sony did the E3 the next day, and then they started off with games, and they started off with PS3, and Vita a little bit, and then they switched to PS4, and then they started out with we will not have online DRM. You will be able to buy and sell your games, and like everybody went wild.
Well, actually, they did a little video.
I remember with
instruction video,
and
with Shuhei Yoshida and Adam Boyce.
Yeah, this is how you borrow a game, but it was only on the YouTube page. It wasn't on the press conference.
Yeah, it wasn't in the press conference. It's something they did. I think it's something they posted before or after their press conference.
Yeah,
and it's like step 1. Thank you, and that's the video.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then of course they showed off the PlayStation, and then. Then and then they came up with towards the end they came up with pricing, and they said like $399, and it's all coming out this year at the same time in all territories, and like the crowd just went wild. Everybody went wild. And I remember then because I went to like again multiple retailers because I wanted that thing day one, so I went to like 4 or 5 retailers and I reserved it at all 4 or 5 retailers, and then launch day came around. And then, before that, I went to Gamescom with friends, and then I got to play Assassin's Creed Black Flag on PS4, and I was completely sold. And then launch day came around, and all of these retailers called me and said, we have a PS4 waiting for you. And I'm like, crap, I don't need 5 PS4. So I called a couple of my friends, and I was like, yo, man, who wants PS4 here? And then 4 of them were like, I want one. And I'm like, cool, let's go. I got you. Because they all hadn't reserved one. So I'm like, I got you, man. Yeah. And then we just went to all these retailers. And I showed and I was like, hey, it's me. And they're like, oh, cool. I was like, he's going to pay for it. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they paid. And like, I gave them the PS4. Like, enjoy. And then we went to another retailer. And we did the same dance 5 times. And then we got minus flat. And then they were like, why do you have so many PS4s with you? We're like, don't ask. We're just here to buy stuff. And then we just got our
They might
PS4.
be like, maybe they're trying to scalp these. It's like,
Well,
nah, man,
but at
nah,
the
man.
time, scalping wasn't a thing because I remember the
Not for
PS.
not for gaming, not for
No,
gaming.
because I know that the
Yeah.
PS4, the supply was really good. They had like ample supply.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man.
Remember when you could actually walk into a store and buy a system?
Yeah, I remember that. It feels like
Remember actually having to line up for a
I
system?
never did that. That's why I always
Neither
reserved it in
did I.
advance. Because I was like, because I remember when I pre-ordered one of my PS4s at Game Mania, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do a midnight launch. So if you're here at midnight, you can pick it up at midnight." And I'm like, "No, thank you. I'm fine. I will just. I enjoy my sleep too much to. I value my sleep too much to be here at midnight.
Yeah.
I'll just walk in tomorrow and I'll get it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like,
Midnight launches for more a US thing, by the way, I
"Yeah,
think.
yeah."
Actually. Because the only time I've only done this once, midnight launch, and that was for Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think like because that back then I used to
And there
live.
was a big line.
Yeah,
And I live in a small town.
I remember back
So
then
imagine.
I lived in near Rotterdam, and I remember like when Call of Duty came out, and like a couple of these games, they would always do midnight launches at the Media Markt or something, and people were like lined out. And I'm like, it's Call of Duty. I'm not gonna sacrifice my sleep for this. I'll just buy it another
Exactly.
time. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. I did, however, have luck because when the 3DS came out, um, I had a friend working at a Game Mania
Oh nice.
at the time, so I used her discount to get it,
Oh.
and I got it at launch day, and that was when the price was still like almost 300 euros, and then like 3 months later they're like, yeah, we made a boo boo price drop. Also, everybody that bought it with the original price, you become ambassadors. And then we got all the Game Boy Advance games, which I still have. So
Nice.
I'm really, and I still have like, so it came with the games, and then also you got this like certificate,
Mm-hmm.
which is just like an icon on your screen says that you're a 3DS ambassador. But it also came with the privilege of pre-ordering an ambassador edition of the new 3DS,
Oh.
which I bought. The only way you could buy it was using a credit card, and at the time I did not have a credit card. So I had to borrow a colleague's credit card like, "Hey, I'll pay the money. I just want to order this because I really want to get it because you got it in advance before the 3DS officially launched."
Wow.
And it came with this really neat, like the new 3DS of these plates, these face plates. It came with these like exclusive face plates as well, and I still have it. It's probably in the box somewhere in my void, somewhere behind these hills here. Um, but
You should hike up the
yeah,
mountain to find it.
yeah. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see that I have hills behind me. Um, the hills of Japan.
I am in Japan, as you can see, obviously. So it's nice that we
Yeah,
can
you
do
have
this with
Mount
a.
Fuji behind
Yeah, we
you.
can do this with a time difference.
So yeah, that was really cool. So I got it early, the new 3DS.
Nice.
And I still have it. I really love it. I spent a lot of time on the new 3DS because
I,
it got a lot of JRPGs.
uh,
So you can
I
imagine.
missed out
I
on
played a
all of
lot.
the Nintendo handhelds.
I think the 3DS, the DS and the 3DS is where I played the most varied amount of games. Most of them were JRPGs, but I played a lot of different games. A lot of weird, quirky games that I love to this very day and that have been super cool experiences. One of these games that I always bring up, if you have a 3DS, especially now since they're closing the stupid eShop on the 3DS and Wii U, if you haven't picked up Pocket Card Jockey, please pick it up. It is a very good, very fun solitaire game with horse racing made by the developers of Pokemon.
Wow.
If that's not enough to sell you on it, the soundtrack is amazing and the characters are quirky and fun.
So after this episode goes live, we're suddenly going to see a spike in sales of that game.
I hope so. Honestly, I hope so because I kind of wish that they would do a sequel on Switch for this.
I think it's such a niche game that they probably haven't thought about it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Ah, well. Plus, they're working on Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, which look amazing.
Oh, I completely forgot about those.
Yeah, that's because Thingy came out earlier this year.
Arceus.
Legends Arceus.
Yeah.
And that's also an amazing game.
Which
Oh
I
my god.
still haven't played. I bought it. I still haven't played it.
Please play it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we can leave it
Um,
at this because the next part would be PS4 and Xbox One and
we can
Switch.
get yeah,
Yeah.
we can get into that a bit more deeper.
Yeah.
All right. So, will you do the honors?
I will. Thank you for tuning in for part 3 of this special bonus series. Um, as you can see and notice, we are very excited to talk about and go down this trip down memory lane with all this nostalgia. I certainly suddenly want to buy a lot more stuff from back then than before I started this series with Max. So, thank you for tuning in. You can find this episode on your favorite podcasting platform: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Stitcher, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast. We're also on YouTube. The episode also goes live the same day and time. You can find the link for it in the episode description of the audio version, or if you go to our Instagrams at Game Rivals or at Maximilian_X, there's a link in the bio, and you can find all places where you can find the audio and the video version of the podcast. You can reach us through email, gamerivalsfeedback@gmail.com. On Twitter, it's at Maximilian_X and at game_rivals_. On Twitch, it's Game Rivals. Oh, no, not Game Rivals. It's Maximilian_X and Sean Templar. On TikTok, it's at Game Rivals and at Maximilian_X. Well, Instagram I just mentioned, and that's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I have been and always will be Sean Templar.
And I have been and always will be Maximilian X.
And we'll catch you in part 4.
Later.